We got some bad news for the Biden crime family. Jim Jordan Show pulled up to the scene with his gun and handcuffs and taser. But I need some action. I need some action. We do some good talking, but I need some action, man. Because it's an absolute disgrace what they've allowed to happen. A disgrace, a bunch of lies, a Ponzi scheme, you know. And then they think we the people are stupid. Yeah. A cheap fake, a deep fake. They think we the people are stupid. Unbelievable. Threw the gun out in the middle of the street. I think they threw it in the pond too. It was multiple guns, one in the chamber. Laptop. They threw the laptop out in the middle of the freeway. Them patriots know what I'm talking about. Shout out to them beautiful patriots around the world. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button to you, and make sure you don't miss a video. Turn the notifications on, because we're going to keep it real. But we got some massive news, massive announcement from Jim Jordan on the Biden crime family. Let's see what's going on, y'all.
The Biden presidency started with a lie and it ended with a lie. And as you pointed out, there were all kinds of false things in between. But remember, October 2020, Joe Biden said in that debate, the Hunter Biden laptop story, according to 51 former intel officials, is a Russian information operation. That was a lie, and he knew it at the time. And then, of course, yesterday, after saying he wouldn't pardon his son, he turns around and does the very thing. Lie at the start, lie at the ending, and a terrible 4 years in between. Thank goodness President Trump is going back to the White House.
This administration, boy, a bunch of lies. I mean, it's an absolute disgrace what they've allowed to happen from every aspect. You know, everything has been a complete lie. This has been one huge circus, and we're glad it's coming to an end. He ought to be ashamed of himself.
We deposed Hunter Biden, and he lied under oath. And we brought Jim Biden in for a transcribed interview, and he lied under oath.
And don't forget, they threw the crack pipe. They threw the crack out in the middle of on the freeway too. And then they left some in there. They didn't throw all of it out on the freeway. I want y'all, don't forget now. Yeah, don't forget. They didn't throw all of the crack out on the freeway. You know, they threw the gun and everything else, a laptop, but they left some of that. They left some of that in the house.
That's a fact. That's in a report that Jim Jordan and I signed and published to the American people. So I would fully expect Joe Biden to pardon Jim Biden. And remember, in our investigation, we found that 10 family members, including Joe Biden, profited from the influence peddling schemes where they were shaking down our adversaries around the world for tens of millions of dollars, and then they created all these shell companies and laundered the money through the shell companies. And this is according to 6 banks. 6 banks said this in the suspicious activity reports that were filed with Treasury, that they were laundering money, and they sent the money in incremental payments to 10 different Biden family members. So I think that the new Trump Justice Department is going to have a lot on its platter. I look forward to consulting with them to see if we can be of any further assistance. But right now, I think the ball will be in Attorney General Bondi's court.
Oh, boy.
So let me be clear, James Comer. Do you believe other Biden family members committed crimes? And do you believe that a new Attorney General, if they are upholding the law, would be within their jurisdiction to go forward with indictments? And what about Joe Biden himself?
I believe 2 other Biden family members definitely and knowingly committed crimes. In addition to Hunter Biden, you have Jim Biden and Joe Biden.
I do think it's interesting. You pointed this out, the time, the broadness, the length of this from January 1st, 2014 to December 1st, 2024, 10 years and 11 months. Remember, 3 of that 11-year time frame, 3 of those years was when Joe Biden was vice president. So he's making sure, even though the statute of limitations has run for any involvement to Hunter Biden had with Burisma and taxes he owed for that unbelievable amount of income he got from that energy company in Ukraine. So I think that is something that I think is just huge. Because remember, with Burisma, Hunter Biden got put on the board. He wasn't qualified to be on the board. He told us that himself in an interview. The heads of Burisma asked him to weigh in with his father to relieve the pressure they are under from the prosecutor in Ukraine. And then fourth, Joe Biden goes and does just that. And he uses our tax money. American tax dollars to say, if you want the loan guarantee money, stop going after Burisma. My son's on the board and getting paid tons of money. And that happened.
FBI. It was Paulette Harlow, 76-year-old. Look, I can't get her face out of my mind. She's sitting in a jail right now, 2-year sentence for being in front of an abortion clinic, standing there peacefully. Her husband's devastated, thinks she's going to die in jail, but Hunter Biden gets a pardon. A lot of people don't understand the disparity, and that what kills me. Here into the minds of people, not just the feelings of a father to a son, which every parent can understand.
President Trump sort of knew this was coming, right? Bill Malugin asked him about this. Watch here.
You've talked about wanting to unify the country if you're elected. If you are president again, in the name of unity, would you consider pardoning Hunter Biden?
Well, I wouldn't do anything that would be overt in terms of Hunter. It's a sad situation. And I'll bet you the father probably pardons him. Let's see what happens. But
he's been right about everything. Hey, I don't care what y'all say. He's been right about everything. I mean, that's why the saying is true. Trump has been right about everything.
Bad boy.
So he anticipated it would happen. But Andy, what about the fact that Biden just insisted, and through his spokesperson insisted, that no one was above the law? They said over and over again. And frankly, unfortunately for them, I don't think anybody actually believed them anyway.
Yeah, well,
they say no one is above the law but them Democrats. That's what they say.
This goes to what Kaylee was talking about. I think I certainly as a father could understand that you would, if you had the power to spare your son imprisonment. If it were my sons, I would have spared them prosecution in the first place, which he could have done. But I think that goes to the mendacious political calculations that went into this. As Kaylee said, anybody could have understood if Biden had just looked America in the eye and said, look, this is my son. I know it's abusive, but I'm going to pardon him. Mm-hmm. They would have understood that a lot better than the series of lies. But the series of lies was driven by the election calendar. They wouldn't do the pardon prior to the election because they realized that the electorate would have went nuts over it. So they lied about it again and again. I think you're right that nobody really believed them. Certainly nobody who looked at the choices that Hunter and his lawyers made during these cases. They had to know they were getting a pardon. Yeah, I don't think anybody believed it.
Yeah. If you look at the president's statement, he says two things. He says no one is brought to trial for filling out a gun form improperly. I'm paraphrasing the words there. He's also making the case that if you pay back taxes, there's no penalty. The penalty for prison comes off of that. Are those two statements true?
So if I rob a bank but I bring the money back, that's okay now? You know, I mean, it's idiotic. As far as the gun case is concerned, that was not what they call a lie and try case where you fill out the form but you don't get the gun because they find out that there's a problem. He actually got the gun. Those cases get brought all the time. And as for a tax violation, it's just like the bank robbery. It's a little bit of a drastic example, but I think it makes the point. Paying back the money that you owe doesn't mean that you didn't commit the crime. It's not a defense. So
the Biden crime family.
Those are silly arguments. Mm-hmm. And in point of fact, he got cut break after break because he was Hunter Biden, because he was the president's son. This idea that he was singled out for that reason, they actually tried to make the case against him go away, which is a break that no American would get.
We were going to try to get to Kash Patel and that FBI nomination, but we're going to get to that within the show. But I do want to ask you, Kaylee, about this. If you think about the new to Trump voters over this past month, right? One of the things that they were frustrated with is that they felt that the leaders were not in touch with them, that they didn't care about things for them. We're going to talk to somebody later who did hard time for the very same thing that Hunter is accused of doing, was accused of doing and convicted of doing, although I guess now he's not a convicted felon because it's like these things never happen. I mean, that feeling of the elites being better than the people, that carries through with this pardon.
Absolutely. I mean, the pro-life activists I mentioned, some of whom are in jail, some of whom were acquitted by a jury like Mark Houck, there's a huge disparity. Those individuals you speak of, when they read this and see selective and unfairly prosecuted, No, that was Trump with the New York case. New York Times reviewed every case they could find and could not find a case where a federal election was brought under New York state election law. That language applied to Trump. Congress instigated them, miscarriage of justice singled out. I just remind everyone, on August 11th, 2023, it was Merrick Garland that appointed Special Prosecutor David Weiss. So this is such a selective prosecution. It was your DOJ that appointed the special counsel.
Thanks to both of you. Andy McCarthy, thank you. Kayla McEnany.
My poor sister's life got completely blown up by this thing, by this addiction, to the point where she ultimately, once the family sort of tried to let her have a hard love, a tough love period where we weren't helping her out of the jams that she was creating, found herself in the throes of the criminal law. She had to get a public defender. She had to handle the penalty. She didn't go to jail or anything like that, but it remained a mark on her record forever. And no one gives a damn that you were addicted. No one cares about that backstory I just gave to you. So fuck you, Joe Biden, and your sob story about your rich, spoiled presidential kid, Hunter Biden, and how he's been singled out. Because I know I speak for millions of people who have an addict in their family who did something they're not proud of, who could never get out from under it. We have no sympathy for you, Hunter Biden, and even less for you, Joe Biden, because you enabled all of it.
Yeah, the Biden crime family. It's coming. Oh, yeah.